You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Hurricane Lisa getting closer to Belize and is expected to make landfall in the next hour or two. You can quite clearly see the eye starting to poke through the cloud tops, and the storm is gradually intensifying, we believe. Current pressure, current wind speed 80 miles per hour with a pressure of 987 millibars according to the latest National Hurricane Center update. Recon are also investigating the storm right now, so we might have some more information shortly before landfall. It's currently moving at 14 miles per hour, that's 22 kilometers per hour. If that continues, then that means that we will see landfall in Belize City in less than 3 hours. Currently moving over some of those reefs and atolls offshore, and is set to make its first proper landfall on Turnef Atoll, probably this hour. It's moved more quickly than expected. We're expecting landfall to occur at about, in the evening, but it certainly looks like now that we're going to get landfall this afternoon at local time in Belize. The time over there right now, and I've got time zones are a real mess around about this time of year, but they're in Central Standard Time in Belize, which means that the time there right now would be 1 p.m. I think. Yeah, 1 p.m. in Belize right now. So we're covering this live, and we've got a team to help us right now. My name's Nathan Foy here in the studio as always, covering it from my desk over here, and our team. We've got a few people with us right now this hour. We have Ethan, Adafira, Kenneth, and Lucas. And let's first go to Ethan because you've got some imagery up. I mean, it's not favoritism. I just always go to Ethan first because he's always got some nice imagery to look at. So let's take a look at it, Ethan. What's going on?
We're continuing to monitor Hurricane Lisa, moving quickly off towards the west at 14 miles per hour for the National Hurricane Center's latest forecast. At 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time, that's 1 p.m. in Belize. So that's actually an hour ago, actually. The hurricane was estimated to be 35 miles east-southeast of Belize City. And judging by that 14-mile-per-hour westward movement, we could be seeing landfall anywhere from 30 minutes away to maybe just over an hour away. So that landfall is going to be very soon. There might be some time for Lisa to still intensify just a little bit, but at this point, it seems almost inevitable that Lisa will make landfall as a 80 to 85 mile per hour Cat 1, not going to make it to Category 2 status, thankfully. We're still going to be seeing a lot of heavy rainfall threats, though, with the system, and that remains the primary hazard.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually say that the wind is a bigger threat than the rainfall at this point. I mean, I guess that's quite obvious, but when we're looking at the rainfall totals, we're only seeing around 5 or 6 inches generally across the area. It's not a huge amount compared to other storms, but it is still a substantial amount, and sometimes it depends just how quick that rain falls and how likely you are to get flash flooding. I would say that potential threat is really there near the center of where the storm will track. I was looking at some model runs earlier showing some high reflectivity values on the simulated radar, which would obviously correspond to some very high rain rates. So I would be concerned for flash flooding throughout the course of this afternoon and evening.
And has the rainfall threat trended downwards at all, Nathan, or are we still expecting isolated 10 inches?
Storm totals of 10 inches. I think the models have downtrended a little bit because some of it has already fallen. But I think we're looking at storm totals of 10 inches maximum.
Okay. Just looking at a landfall location to the best of my ability that I can give. We're still looking at a landfall location in between Dangriga and Belize City. That's still right on the money, I think. Belize City is probably getting wind gusts or sustained winds close to 60 miles per hour now. They're not. They might edge out ever so slightly of the hurricane force wind field, because the wind field on this thing, the hurricane force wind field that is incredibly small. Hurricane force winds only extend outwards up to 50 nautical miles away from the center, and I think that there is between where the storm's going to make landfall at and Belize City. I think there is actually 15 nautical miles, so that it's going to be a real close call for Belize City whether they actually get the hurricane force winds or not. Good thing is they're not going to get the strongest winds because that's going to be very close to the eye, and that's going to be given the small core of the system, that's going to remain to the south of the city at this time. It appears.
Oh, I don't know, Ethan. The way it's going right now, if I'm fixing it in the right place and it keeps moving the same direction, according to my charts, landfall would be just about 5 or 10 kilometers south of Belize City at this rate.
Either way, it's going to be close. Either way.
As it is right now, my latest estimate here, around 15 kilometers from Turnef Atoll, if I'm saying that correctly, I have no idea. That very, the large one, that large atoll that's off the coast of Belize City, and the one that extends furthest out, you can see it right underneath that green area. Super says almost 3 months of being a Force 13 member in the sense of our YouTube memberships. Can we check the forecast models for the Atlantic and get verified on Discord server? You'll have to talk to our mod team about getting verified in our Discord server, but I'm sure they will be willing to facilitate. Maybe some of them are watching right now. And how many storms do you think will form this month, November? They think 1 to 3. Now, does that include these storms, or are we talking extra storms? I assume they mean extra storms, and I would say possibly 2.
Yeah, I'd say 1 to 2. Sounds
At
very
least
reasonable.
one. But something I just wanted to point out is actually quite crazy because last night, Nathan, when we were live last night, Lisa was the strongest storm that we were seeing in the Atlantic. Lisa isn't actually the strongest storm active right now, actually, in the Atlantic. Martin has overtaken it. ATCF has run with winds of 85 miles per hour on this remarkably northward hurricane sunsetting on the system, unfortunately. It's actually, for a hurricane this far north, is actually looking pretty good.
Yeah, and for the diplomas expect like category 2, I think 105 if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm a bit shocked that NHC went that high for the peak, personally. But I'm sure that they have...
Check the eye temperature of Martin, because I'm going to go take a look.
But either way, that's our situation that we're seeing right now in the Atlantic, and we got this 20% area of interest. That's going to be just an absolute mess over there.
And some precipitation risks in the U.S., I see.
Yeah.
Does that include...
Of course, the main focus is going to be on Lisa. What the heck is
So
this
a very
cone?
active weather period right now, clearly.
Yeah, despite it's still early November, we have currently 3 tropical cyclones and 1 invest forming soon.
Alright, before we go on to more things, tell us about the structure of this storm right now. The eye's starting to become a little bit clearer on the satellite imagery, the visible. The infrared showing maybe little signs, but recon are around about the storm at the moment, and what are they finding, and just the general information about this storm structure?
Yeah, sure. So currently you're asking infrared first. So infrared right now, you can see more convection blowups in infrared imagery. Yeah, it's very new, just recent hour, and at the western side, roping at the western side going to the south, which matches the radar indication that yes, the stronger reflectivity is currently at the western eyewall right now. Previously the southwest and southeast eye was open, and now is the southwestern side repaired a little bit And the western side, yeah, being 8 because of frictional convergence and leads to the current blow up and the final dash, a bit of final dash before landfall right now. And so let's go to recon. Currently there's one recon, AF304, currently into Lisa. Still more recon going into it, right? I think there's a 309 taking off. So back to 304, we have flight level 179 knots. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Should be
highest that
safe.
they've gotten, and they've gotten peak SFMRs. I'm not gonna read out the suspect ones because they're ridiculously high.
Yeah.
But looks like that we've got reliable SFMRs of around 70 knots. If I'm reading that correct, kind of.
Yeah,
70
somewhere
knots?
like that, which match with flight level data of like 79 knot flight level data, which translates to 70 knots. Yeah, a well-supported 70 knots here based on recon data. SFMO like less of the use because the island right now is just can easily inflate this instrument.
It's worth noting, by the way, Nathan. I know that you've got my screen up right now. I'll actually pull this up. It's worth
Yeah.
noting that that these islands here, Lisa Center, is actually in between them right now. Actually, so you can see here
It's
these
there.
barbs indicate. Yeah, that's where the center of Lisa is right now, right there.
Oh wow, so we'll definitely made a landfall there then on one of those islands. I think it's Blackbird Key.
Let me just pull up radar scope here, because I can. It's in. Is it this mess that it's in between? I believe, right?
Yeah, so if it's in
Over here.
that location right
Yeah.
now, that would put it just 39 kilometers east-southeast of Belize City.
25 miles.
So if that continues, then landfall just south of there, near Ferguson Bank, by the looks of things, from my perspective, in approximately 1.5 hours.
Yeah, that'd be around there. Of course, it has to keep moving on its current pace, and judging by the satellite imagery, this eye, I mean, it's a good eye. It's not really a major hurricane-like eye, so obviously it is subject to change. But what I'm seeing, based on a radar image that Josh Morganman has posted, the eye isn't really circular. It's very oval-like, so it's going to be subject to change and subject to wobbles and stuff like that. I think that this storm's going to have as it goes into landfall. Now, I know that a lot of people are going to be thinking with this eye popping out, is there still some room for this to intensify? What do you think, Nathan? Do you think this might get to 85, or do you think it's going to maintain?
It could easily strengthen a little bit more. When we see these storms, sometimes they can keep their intensity a little bit after landfall as well. So it can definitely raise up another 5, but I wouldn't say any more than that.
Yeah, it's pretty much, I'll say, the time is really short for any kind of intensification. Plus, the radius of maximum winds is reaching land, which does land friction can easily weaken the storm. Or the winds itself will really be dampened because of the friction itself. But if you're gonna ask me if it is 80 or 85, it's gonna be really this undersampling currently from the recon instead of the intensification itself. The time is already like run out. I'll strictly say it is just run out.
Let's get some viewer questions. You can start your message with Force 13 all in text on our YouTube chat right now, and it will light up for us. Storm Tracker HQ says, "What is all of that cloud cover north of Lisa's core? The shape of this storm as a whole is more than a little bit lopsided. What's going on with it?"
I think that's more just outflow in relation to the storm, more than anything. Yeah.
Hardly anything on the south side though. Shear induced?
No. I'm not sure, but I know that we were talking about this yesterday, Nathan. Look at the wind field. It's very much still north-sided. A lot of the models were indicating that maybe you would get a little bit more circular, and that just hasn't happened.
That HWRF was busted, wasn't it?
Yeah. Thankfully.
Yeah.
This is really north side loaded, really.
That one wanted a strong Category 3, and thankfully we're not seeing anywhere near that. And it would have been
No.
very much against the climatological period. The only real outlier from its position was Keith, of course, but Keith ended up moving quite slowly, and this one's going faster than forecasted. So I think that's a major part of why it's not going to be as strong as it could have been. I think if it was moving as forecasted, then it would have reached Richard's peak at just about getting to Category 2.
If you don't mind, Nathan, I'm just pulling up. Oh, where's it gone? My forecast cone that I made on Lisa.
Yeah, of course.
There it is. So, in very much agreement with the National Hurricane Center's forecast that I just made at top of the hour. Only difference that I had from the NHC's forecast is the 12-hour position forecast. The intensity is actually 5 miles per hour weaker, and the storm actually dissipates 24 hours earlier as well. But really not much difference from the NHC at all regarding track or anything, really.
Now, models, as far as I've seen, aren't keen at all on this storm really surviving in the Bay of Campeche, even as a
No.
tropical depression for a couple of days, which is what the NHC is forecasting. So what are they seeing that's different to that?
I just think that it's going to have, when it gets to the Bay of Campeche, it's going to have maybe 24 hours of some favorability to maintain intensity. It's not going to intensify, but it might maintain it, or it might continue to blow up convection. But once that wind shear starts to take a market increase, that's when the convection is going to really kill off any hope of the storm surviving. And we can see that, I believe, on the RAM diagnostic plot. Let me just pull that up.
All right.
Oh dear, that's a terrible looking storm. And yeah, you can see here, wind shear is 10 to 15 knots over the storm right now. So it is a little bit favorable on the unfavorable side. It's kind of in between. But look at that. Once we get towards day 4s and day 5s, look at that wind shear.
Yeah, really through the roof there, up to 40 knots.
Yeah. So first of all, the shear, on top of the effective shear right now, as it moves over Bay of Campeche, it's still moving like generally more northwest and northward, which somehow offsets some shear, despite it's not very fast. It deletes a bit of shear, but as it moves, because it turns again. Well, similar to Carl earlier, the shear is lower when it moves north than moving south, because the shear factor is southerly. When it moves south, it amplifies shear. It goes against the shear factor, and it will just amplify its shear itself and kills it.
Kenneth does have a really good point there. To summarize what Kenneth is saying, basically, this once the storm makes that southward turn, it's going to be going against the wind shear. But once that storm moves up towards the north, it's going to be going with the wind shear. That's not going to affect it as much. But once it turns south, it's going to go against that. Just for people who might not understand what Kenneth is saying.
And we've seen that on so many occasions, usually out to sea, where storms, once they turn around, they just get blown to shreds, don't they?
Yeah, I mean,
especially late season Westpac.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it right now, I'd say.
Sure. There's some more questions. J.O. says, could those islands contaminate the SFMR values right now?
Surely it did. You can see those, like, there's a spot like 190 on SFMR.
190?
119.
119. Still contaminated,
Guys, you can see those near Turnip Atoll. This island is, well, it's still an island, still a landmass with very shallow water, which FMR, very sensitive to these, and it would just simply, those data would just, you have to simply discard it. It's totally unusable, and what you have to do is to rely mostly on flight level data. And currently, it shows that the the conversion ratio is still near typical range and is usable and effective for estimating leases.
Alright. Any chance the shear on the Bay of Campeche goes down for when Lisa arrives? And if so, could we see intensification, or is it totally over for Lisa once it crosses?
Totally over. Honestly, considering the latest GFS run, Nathan, I'll pull that up here. I'll pull this up here on Levi Cowan's website, and it'll give us a nice, good look at this. So we were seeing the GFS run pull Lisa up here last night, and this is the 12Z run. Look at what it does with Lisa now. Nothing in the Bay of Campeche. Nothing. And then there's this mess over here. But that's interesting.
That's not even 48 hours.
Yeah. So we could honestly see that this is still a cone of uncertainty. So Lisa could still pull into the Bay of Campeche a little bit earlier than forecast, which would lead to a stronger storm in the area. Not going to survive, though, either way. Or we could see the storm take more of a westward track and remain over land, and that would ultimately kill the circulation. And that would honestly be a much better scenario, if you ask me. The quicker the storm dies, the better. But there is still a wide variety of solutions that are possible with this storm, and I think that the NHC are taking the best route right now and going right down the middle with their current forecast track, and I think that's good.
Another question from one of our old contributors, Dimitri. Why is the Atlantic Ace only average for this year so far compared to the last 6 years, which were above average years?
Is the Atlantic's bad?
Ethan, no.
Mainly because of the dead August, I would guess.
Yeah, dead August, pretty much.
Yeah, the supposedly the main developments region, the most of the the ITCZ, the very low latitude tropics are not really favorable in like worldwide. Is pretty poorly like performed in the summer. In August, September, it's not really well performed but that also leads to a very active autumn, both in North Atlantic and West Pacific, and so as the North Indian also weakened a little bit. The main show is all shifted to autumn this year instead of summer, like literally worldwide, the Northern Hemisphere season. And you see the Southern Hemisphere also going hot, especially hot.
Certainly. There was a comment there about comparisons or analogues to Hurricane Martin.
Oh gosh.
I can't think of it.
That's a good question.
Go back to the wide shot there and you can see both hurricanes currently active. Martin way up there. You'd expect to see a storm sort of in that position in September, but there it is, a rather chunky system as well, which means that there aren't really any good analogues, to be honest, because usually it's small compact storms that manage to intensify late season up there.
When even was the last time that we had a late season storm up here, Nathan?
Any kind of storm?
Yeah.
There'll be something, but I can't think of any right now.
I'm just looking back. I know that Nicole made it up there, but Nicole isn't really an analog to this back in 2016.
And Nicole's much stronger.
Sort of Kate in 2015, that was further south.
Probably something like earlier stuff like... I forgot if there anything like in 2001, 2007.
I'm looking at that now, and I'm not
Those
really
2
seeing
years
a whole
looks like yeah. I own
Any analogs
for
at all?
any current system. No, I only know the analog of Nalgene, but not the other two.
Yeah, a lot of the analogs are... I don't really know if there's really any analogs for the time of the year. I know that
Yes.
there's a few for the track. Of
Yeah,
course,
this
they're
track
going to be.
there's definitely a few.
Of course, they're all going to be early on in the
We
season,
can
though.
really pop this up out of the brain at a very instant.
I'm just looking into it myself right now. For those who are really curious. I mean, yeah, this one just generated up there, and pretty much all storms that were active up here formed much further south. It's it's quite an anomaly.
It's a big head scratcher.
Yeah. About 5 degrees further north than Tanya was in 1995. That was at this time of year. But it formed quite a bit further south as well. So, yeah, it's pretty much on its own up there.
I don't know if you could consider Oscar from 2018 an analog.
No.
Of
No.
course, that formed much further south.
No. Yeah, that's much further south.
Which Nicole were you talking about?
2016.
That's
Well,
definitely.
Nicole 1998 wasn't that far away from this storm either at this location. And that was at the end of November. But yeah, that's just us musing about that at the moment. But we are covering the landfall of Hurricane Lisa, which is coming up pretty shortly. The storm is edging closer and closer to striking the main land area of Belize. Latest estimate right now is that the eye of the storm is over Turnef Atoll, over the northern part, and as far as my latest fix has here, it is just left as far as I can tell. And the next stop would be Bannister Key or Starfish Island. That's 18 kilometers away. And Belize City, which is 32 kilometers from the center of the storm now. So at this pace, we're looking at landfall within the next hour and a half.
And it looks like that's going to make landfall near maybe east of Waters Bank, maybe near Ferguson Bank, Nathan. Perhaps.
Yes. But I think Belize City are going to get hurricane force winds and soon. Rapidly developing. If you're on the ground ahead of this storm, the conditions will deteriorate sharply and very quickly, considering its very small wind fields.
Yeah, its radius maximum was pretty tight. Although it has broadened a bit earlier because dry intrusion occurred around half day before, which broadens a bit for Lisa. But it still remains rather intact. Let me estimate the radius. Right.
Let's get some more questions whilst we wait. Is Martin just Danielle but stronger?
What?
No.
It was a question, Ethan.
I would
Yeah.
say
Danielle? I mean, which Danielle?
this year, probably.
This is nothing like that. Oh, they're talking about Martin. Oh no.
Oh. Yes. You had me confused then. Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright.
Danielle and Martin are nothing alike.
And could the extratropical low to the west of Martin turn tropical also?
No.
No, that's the one who takes away Martin. That should be.
Let's have a look again. Yeah, there's that other rotating low there to the west of Martin.
I mean, it's just a bunch of wave motion in the mid-latitudes. It's all waves.
Will the sea surface temperature cool down after Lisa makes landfall?
Probably anyways, because we're moving into November anyway, so they're going to be cooling anyways. Lisa will just speed up the process a little bit, I guess, in the areas that it's going through.
Is there a chance that another storm forms in the Gulf?
No, not right now. At least depending on the models out. At least in the next 7 days.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to get a Gulf development in November, to be honest.
When was the last time that even happened?
Oh, I don't know. But usually at this time of year, it has to be something that's forming in the Caribbean for it to make it in the Gulf for any length of time. Tanya says that they're currently in Belmopan. Will they be in the eye? No. Let's see exactly where you will be. You'll probably
Belmopan.
Yep, you'll probably be just south of the southern part of the eye. I don't think you'll get the eye. And Sarah says, is Martin steering towards the UK? I imagine there'll be quite a few people wondering about that over the next few days, and it sort of
Maybe.
is slowly, but I don't think there's going to be major impacts from that storm on the British Isles.
It's more like going to be a gale threat for Iceland and Greenland, possibly Ireland.
And has this been the most quiet hurricane season ever? No, don't go there.
Absolutely not.
People need to get a sense of perspective. We're up to what? We're up to L here, and the last. Sorry, yeah, we're up to M now, and that is. I mean, yeah, 2013 got to M as well, and that's viewed as a dead season. But we've had a lot more hurricanes in 2013 and majors. So
2013 didn't even have a Cat 2.
No, so absolutely not a quiet season. It's been an average season with a particularly bad hurricane in it, or two. So yeah, that's most of those questions right now. Let's go over some of these warnings that are currently in effect, in case you're unaware. Hurricane warnings remain in effect right now for the coast of Belize, all of it, and Chetumal to Puerto Costa Maya, Mexico. Tropical storm warning for the Bay Islands, Honduras, the north coast of Honduras from Punta Castilla westward, the north coast of Guatemala, and Puerto Costa Maya to Punta Allen, Mexico. No watches for any areas now at this point. We're expecting a 4 to 7 foot storm surge when it crosses the coast of Belize shortly, and 4 to 6 inches of rain with local amounts to 10 inches across Belize, northern Guatemala, and the southern portion of the Mexican state of Quintana Roo. Southern Campeche, Tabasco, northern Chiapas, and far eastern Veracruz as well included in that. So, where are Recon now?
Let's have a look.
Recon has been brushing the northern side and northeastern side, and right now it has moved eastward away. And I don't know if they're gonna wanna sample other quadrants, because the southern side has 0 samples right now, and maybe they're going for it.
They've only sampled the north and northeastern side of the eye wall right now. They haven't sampled any other quadrant at all.
Wait, they're ascending.
Oh,
so maybe they're leaving.
Because there's another unassigned mission, and it's flying north-northwest. Maybe not for a reason.
Maybe that AF309 is for the severe weather event in the plains. Maybe that's going on. That might be what that one's going off to, but I don't think that one's.
Is that today?
No, that's tomorrow and Friday.
Damn. Looking on this infrared visible hybrid, another view of how the storm is developing, and some decent cloud tops in there, entering some purples on this particular color scale. I think that's 1 or 2 little slots of -80s there, and quite a bit of -70s, particularly on the western side, which is of course the side that is now ploughing into Belize City and its surroundings. So I imagine that the rain is really going to get turned up a few notches here, and the wind imminently if you are in that area. And I know that there's a few people watching who are in that location, so hunker down. John says, will Dengriga get hit hard, and when should we expect landfall? So that's on the southern side of the storm, and you'll get the worst part probably in about an hour, the southern eye wall, and you could get winds above hurricane force for a time. Not a very long time, probably only a couple of hours at most. But yeah, it's going to come in quickly and perhaps unexpectedly for some. Given its small size, its relatively quick motion, the onset of the worst part of this storm will reach you very quickly. And from what we can see right now, very shortly as well. Latest indication I'm getting from satellite imagery would suggest now that we're probably looking at about 27 kilometers until it reaches Belize City. That would be the center of the eye, not just the edge of the eye. I would suggest here that the edge of the eye now, it's hard to tell, but the edge of the eye is probably only around 15 kilometers from Belize City. So at this rate, you will probably enter the eye early next hour.
I can confirm that AF304 is leaving, so they will not be making another pass into Lisa. So this will probably be the last recon pass that we'll have for Lisa.
That's slightly disappointing.
It is. I would have liked to have more, but that other recon plane.
It's not a stream data, Mitchell.
Yeah. But that other recon plane, though, AF309, that's actually a plane that took off at 11 a.m. around there. And I can actually track it live, and that's over southwestern Utah. So that's not going to Lisa at all. I'm no clue where that one's going off to.
All right, never mind. Let's get
Maybe it might be the severe weather in the southwest. If there is any.
Let's get some more questions. When Martin turns into an extratropical storm, does it have a chance to turn into a bomb cyclone? Well, I think it definitely will. It might even be tropical for the first part of that.
Yeah, I'm aware. The forecast is going really intense for that. Yeah, let me see the latest. What pressure is expected? Yeah, it combined with another power level subpolar low, and then the temperature gradient just bomb out. Because the subpolar gives so many Brookline stability as well, and boom. It's going to something sub 930 if want.
Yeah. And there is imagery of Hurricane Martin right now, moving northeastwards across the central Atlantic. And also the latest here, well, a 6-hour loop, I think it is, on Lisa. And you can see how it's moved during that time. And clearly we're looking at landfall in about an hour or possibly less. And a moment of lovely rephrasing the question, has it been the most quiet season ever in regards to actual hurricanes?
No. No, not by a long shot.
How many hurricanes have we had? It's at least 5.
I can actually check real quick. So far this season, we have had 7.
7.
Wow.
We've had Danielle, Earl, Fiona, Ian, Julia, Lisa, and Martin.
7.
That's more than half the tropical storms. We had 13 named storms this season.
Yeah.
And 13 and
It's 16, 14, 7, 2, 1. 7, 2, yeah. Yeah, 16 already. Well,
I think the average is 7.
7 hurricanes?
I think.
Yeah, well, reasonable, like, climatologically, like 16 system as well. It's a very near average season for.
But those are just numbers. Are the La Nina conditions going to continue into spring of next year? And if so, will this be the first quadruple La Nina ever?
Likely
Sign-
not.
Yeah, signs are pointing towards an actual El Nino for next year, actually.
We've seen that a
It's-
few times, though, and it never happened.
Been for a while, actually.
And probably likely can be a very strong one in near future, as we see like
Like a, you mean like a 2015 level?
some were those very strong analogs likely. The cycle's been amplified in recent years.
Like, what's one of the strongest Ninos on record?
1997.
Yeah, 997. No, zero doubts.
2015 was another strong one.
It was a
It-
decently one.
Actually, not a weak one, also a strong one. Just not as strong as 997.
1983.
97. Well, yeah, 83 too. That's also a good one.
I mean, it takes a very severe toll on the West Pacific. Yeah, the weather's
All right.
it's easily seen.
Latest information right now, Hurricane Lisa is approaching landfall in northern Belize. We're expecting the landfall probably to occur very near Belize City right now in the next hour. It's getting very close, within 30 kilometers now of making landfall. So it's getting to be crunch time, really. Conditions will be rapidly deteriorating there now, and some people remarking that in the comments. And eventually Belize City will enter the eye of the storm. Belmopan as well, they will probably not get the eye, but they are likely to get the southern eye wall. That's the weaker eye wall, we think. We think the northern one is stronger. It's certainly larger. So they'll be on the south side, and I am quite concerned about Belize City, which will be possibly slightly on the northern side when the eye moves over, and that's going to happen very soon. 80 mile per hour winds in this storm right now. That's 120 kilometers per hour sustained, and a central pressure of 987 millibars. Hurricane warnings, of course, are in effect. We're here live until landfall, and we'll take your comments and questions as they come about. It's a very kind of when we do these streams, there's not very much structure to them because things evolve quickly and information comes at us from all different angles. Unfortunately, it's not going to be a recon angle anymore because it sounds like they've departed the storm, and there's going to be no more no more in Lisa at all now, I don't think. So that's where we're at right now. Recon have depicted this storm at around 80 mile an hour winds. Satellite estimates, I think, they were certainly much lower earlier on, and it's not been particularly helpful. Satellite estimates, in fact, right now they're currently running at about 60 knots, the ADT, 70 miles per hour. So that's still that's still inaccurate, too low. But the eye is still quite visible there. But look at those latest images, Ethan. Convection bubbling up over that eye again.
Yeah, but I think that these convective bursts on the western side of the circulation, they're really starting to interfere with land. I apologize for my dog barking, by the way. But I just think that these are just too close to land for these storms to really gain any intensity. So I think that we're probably going to be seeing a maintain up until landfall at this point. I think time is run out for the storm to really gain any more intensity.
And thanks to Mitchell for his commentary as well there. Kenneth.
Alright, so this system, the western convection is as a center force due to the frictional convergence, and radar has also indicated that, and the new convection blow at the western side, it's probably will persist until like a few hours, like 2 hours after landfall, before the clouds are really warmed up, and that also brings very severe rainfall. Like it's probably like a rainstorm. Well, with new blow-ups still means probably there's likely some stone lightning activities, I guess. And the storm force winds radius is currently like estimate from latest recon should be like 30 to 35 nautical miles. Like that means it's currently skirting land already, and what's next is followed by the hurricane force a circle, and it's approaching very soon to the coast right now. It yeah. What distance from land right now?
Yeah, it's getting hard to tell with that blow up of convection unless there's radar available, but I haven't been able to source that. But if any of you guys have it, that would be much helpful as well. But what we can gather from satellite is the eye is being clouded over, but our latest estimate 23 kilometers from Belize City, and it looks like it will pass to the south by less than 5 kilometers. So basically, they'll get the eye.
Yeah, it still will still get the eye area. The let me see the radius of maximum. One moment. The radius of maximum. The degree thing. Yeah, around 25 to 30 degrees radius of maximum wind. You expect some like 40 kilometers hurricane radius. Yeah, should be. Yeah, those radius is reaching land. I'll say the eye was probably has already reached the land, and what only way is the dead center entering land to core landfall.
This is water vapor imagery, and you can see the deepest shades of green there blowing up just along the coast right now, and that would be consistent with very high rainfall amounts possibly underneath that, and that's just extending over the coast now and over Belize City. I would say that's the biggest area for concern at this present time. The storm is literally on the cusp of making landfall, counting down the last 25 kilometers or so, and at this rate, at its current speed, that will be landfall in much less than an hour, possibly half an hour. But we're still here to take your comments and questions live on the air, and if you are in the area and it's safe to do so, please let us know how you're faring and what your conditions are. Tanya says, will Belmopan get into Lisa's eye wall? I'm pretty sure it will. It will be not far from the eye. It is a small eye wall, but I think you'll just about get it. And what's Hurricane Lisa's peak going to be at landfall? I think we pretty much covered that. We're thinking it's not strengthened any further, and it will be the wind speed that we currently have down right now.
Nathan?
80 miles an hour.
Nathan, Belize City has officially entered the eye wall.
That wouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah.
And areas as far northwest as Ladyville are also in the eye wall, which is about.
Where's that? Oh yes, not far away.
It's about 7 miles to the northwest of Belize City.
Jo says, is Lisa already weakening with a rising pressure? Did Recon get any pressures?
No, the XTRP is broken and no drop zone because this eye is it's over land. It's over the island, which they cannot drop anything there.
The center of the eye is also not even 5 miles from land anymore. The mainland part of Belize.
Maybe, it's hard to tell. I'm sure Belize must have radar somewhere. Let me go and try and source that. I was too busy before the stream getting all the satellite imagery ready. And I think I have it. Alright, this is much more useful. Very helpful.
I'm looking for it. Ah yes, AccuWeather has a local Lisa tracker.
No, not on there. From Belize, I've got some radar here. This is going to be much more easier to show you what exactly is going on. Let me just try and get this on my screen. This will take a couple of moments here. But once it's up, it's worth the wait, there it is right now, and from the airport you can see the storm at close range here, the eye of the storm moving in. I wish we had this earlier, I wish I'd known about this, but that shows you quite clearly exactly what's going on with the eye of the storm drawing in closer. That last frame is from 7:38 UTC, that'll be. So that's only 12 minutes ago, that last frame. So actually, there's still a little way to go yet. It's still not fully off turn F at all when we look at radar.
Oops, I saw the wrong thing.
But that is live radar there, covering a period of, how long? 2 hours worth of radar images there. And unfortunately, it's only, timestamps are only every 15 minutes, which is not really what we're used to. Usually, most radars are a bit better than that these days, but you can still see those darker colors, strong to intensive on that guide on the right hand side. Rain amounts moving over Belize City and onwards towards some of those other locations. Just wanted to show that really zoomed in look. There's a zoomed out version as well, which I'll get on the air in just a second. If it's up to date, which looks completely different. Yeah, this one's up to date. Alright, here is the other view, a further out view, looking at exactly where we're at with this storm on radar imagery. And you can see it's definitely the northern side that has a lot more to it than the southern side, and you could tell that much from satellite, but it's much more, even more clearer to see on the radar. That up towards the northern border with Mexico, we're looking at some substantial rainfall all along that coastal area. South side, not too much going on. It's quite showery though over the higher elevations towards the southwest, but generally not so much. Also, this radar showing that either the eastern eye wall is wide open, or it's just that the radar can't resolve it, but we can see the western eye well, but we can't really see the eastern side very well there.
Probably the radar will show it more or less close, but with the western eye wall stronger than eastern eye wall, that's for sure.
So that's radar, and like I said, that would suggest now that this storm is not quite as close to Belize City as we thought, but we're still looking on the order of about 25 kilometers. So that would still show us that landfall is probably about 40 minutes away or so, I would say. 30 to 40 minutes. But Belize in the eye wall pretty much here. Belize City into the eye wall right now. This is Force 13 Live. Hurricane Lisa has winds of 80 miles per hour. Central pressure of 987 millibars. That's what we believe at the moment. Recon couldn't get a better read on it than that. So that's what we're currently running with. We're also joined on the air by Tim. I don't know if you've got any thoughts for us right now, but the floor is open.
Actually, I do, Nathan. I've been kind of waiting to be properly introduced to the stream. Good afternoon to everybody that has joined us. Yeah, we actually do have some on-the-ground observations. There is a weather station on the western side of Belize City that I've been keeping an eye on. Right now, latest pressure is 1,003 millibars. It has fallen from about 1,007 in about the last 20 minutes. Actually, just dropped a little bit more. It's still about 1,003 millibars. Overall pressure has been dropping on this western side of Belize City. Rainfall rates have really started taking off. Currently, Belize City getting 36 millimeters of rain per hour. Currently, that is what the rain rates are hinting at. And rainfall is now over 78 millimeters for this side of the Belize City. Wind gusts have been pushing tropical storm force. 74 kilometers was the last measurement that I have seen recorded.
Yeah, that is tropical storm force. And we're looking at radar derived rainfall here, rainfall totals as of 3 p.m. I think that would be UTC, so that's a good 5 hours ago nearly. But even at that point, it was showing that some areas there were getting up towards 50 millimeters of rain north of Belize City and possibly in Belize City itself. And that was increasing quite a lot further out at sea. So we'll definitely it looks like we're going to see quite a lot of 100 millimeter readings by the time this is done.
Absolutely, Nathan. And yeah, this weather station's really starting to approach that number. Latest numbers now indicate 82 millimeters have fallen and is starting to tally up very quick now.
Well, it will, because they're entering the very high precipitation part of the storm, the eye wall, and those winds will be getting up. That's on the western side, that station, you said, so the winds won't be so high for the moment.
Yeah, the winds really aren't too high, but the rainfall definitely there. This is an active weather station that's constantly updating. So currently 37 millimeters per hour is what this weather station is recording.
Interesting to see that latest radar image where the gradient of the eye wall has sort of become a bit blurred there at the last frame. I'm not sure what exactly is going on there, but it sort of looks like a detachment or a fracture in the eye wall possibly. It's very hard to tell off just one frame. But quite clearly the center of the storm is drawing ever closer to making landfall. There's a lot more small barrier type islands there just before it reaches land. Just want to familiarize ourselves with the geography of that area. We haven't really covered Belize for quite some time here at Force 13. So just offshore Belize, you've got a whole bunch of little islands there. You have got Drowned Key, which I think is the closest one, and then you've got Maps Key and Swallow Key, and they'll all get the eye of this storm. And further down you've got Water Key, they'll be in the eye wall. In fact, they probably won't even be in the eye wall, that one, but a little bit.
Water Key is actually right now in the eye wall. All these keys are right now in the eye wall.
And further towards the eye you've got Shag Key as well. They'll probably get the eye. So a lot of those areas, I'm not sure if any of those ones are populated. I'm sure locals will be able to tell me. It's hard to tell. I imagine if there is any populations there, they are small. But Belize City, of course, is where most of it's at, and they are also pretty much in the eye wall right now and getting tropical storm force winds pretty much certainly, and possibly hurricane force gusts at this moment in time. It's just coming up to 2 p.m. Belize time, and we will be staying on the air here until the landfall happens sometime in the next hour. Ethan, anything you'd like to tell us at this point? Any new things that you've seen on satellite, perhaps?
Nothing that I can see just quite yet, Nathan.
And we're looking at that imagery of yours as well. A few flare-ups on that satellite imagery. It's like quite a expansive flare-up actually has occurred on the western side of the storm, completely engulfing what we were looking at with the eye. So we are part blind, we are just on the radar. Let's take some comments again. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. And why does the mile per hour always end with a 0 or a 5? Because I guess that's just always been done that way. I mean, we're almost getting to the stage where you can pinpoint a actual number, but it is inexact and winds are unpredictable, and I think it's just a lot easier having 0s and 5s. And is it still possible for Lisa to intensify a little bit before landfall? I think the
No.
game is up for Lisa, and it's going to be an 80-mile-an-hour landfall. I think we're pretty sure. What else do we have? I think that's pretty much everything right now in our comments section there. So there's not a huge amount else to say at this point, but we are continuing to monitor the storm close in on those last few miles before it makes landfall, and we'll be poring over every new radar image once it comes in. I doubt there's been a new one since we last looked, but let's see if we can have a look again here. That last image is still from 7:38 UTC, which is now 22 minutes ago, so bear that in mind when you look at this imagery and just how much it may have gotten closer since then. That's more than a frame's worth there. So if we were to make an inference on that, I would suggest now that the center of the storm is probably... It's difficult to establish, no doubt, but we're probably looking at about 18 or 19 kilometers east-southeast of Belize City right now. And hopefully soon we'll get a new frame on that and we'll be able to see if there's any movement.
Nathan, I have found a live camera from San Pedro Airport. I'm pretty sure this is... What is this? Might be in Belmopan, actually. Should be in Belize City. No, it isn't.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna keep looking.
So there's our current viewpoint from radar imagery right now. Very intense rain will be occurring on the north to western side of that eye wall, which is wrapping around towards the west there, all along the coast now at this point. Belize City probably getting tropical storm force winds, and its localities nearby down to Ferguson Bank up to Ladyville, probably all getting tropical storm force winds now with heavy rainfall. It should be noted that National Hurricane Center is saying that this storm could be accompanied by a 4 to 7 foot storm surge as well, which could be quite a severe impact. But we're also looking at the potential for up to storm totals of up to isolated amounts of 10 inches, which is 250 millimeters of rain, and a lot of that could fall in one go when we look at the reflectivity. It's not necessarily the total amount of rain that you receive. Sometimes it's the rain rate at its peak time that can really cause some flooding and stress on infrastructure. But we're continuing to watch this situation closely. This is Force 13 Live. If you've just joined us, this is Hurricane Lisa, 80-mile-an-hour winds. Let's take a look at the National Hurricane Center forecast once again. We've not taken a look at this very much so far, and it shows there the storm wind field and the hurricane warning zone. And just a reminder of the places that are under hurricane warnings right now. All of Belize, the coast of Belize, and in Mexico from Chetumal to Puerto Costa Maya, and a tropical storm warning either side there. The Bay Islands of Honduras still, the north coast of Honduras from Punta Castilla westward, the north coast of Guatemala, and Puerto Costa Maya to Punta Allen, Mexico. We are also expecting, obviously, those strong winds and those heavy rainfall amounts. We could also be looking at 2 to 4 inches with local amounts to 6 across the far southeastern portion of the Yucatan, the Bay Islands of Honduras, central Guatemala, and south central Campeche.
Okay, so Nathan, I couldn't find any Belize City live webcams, but once again, I do have one from San Pedro. This is about 60 kilometers to the northeast of Belize City, so it's probably at the edge of the eye wall. Camera is shaking around pretty much actually. The rain is now really starting to pour down. You can see the ocean off to the far right. The clouds. They're moving really quickly.
So just remind us where that is.
This is northeast of Belize City. It's on one of the islands offshore.
Oh.
That particular webcam is on Ambergris Key.
Ah,
Nathan.
yes, it's way up there. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, well, whilst we had it for a short time there, that was a look at that area. Quite windy, as we saw. The next National Hurricane Center advisory is coming up at 4 p.m. Central Daylight Time, which is 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is the time zone in Belize. Very confusing time zones all of a sudden. Here, where I am in the UK, the daylight savings time ended last weekend. In the US, it ends this weekend, so everyone's clocks are all over the place. But right now it's just after 2 p.m. in Belize, which is where this storm is going to make landfall during this hour. I'm pretty sure of it.
All right, Nathan, we do have an update on this weather station on the western side of Belize City. Pressure has dropped to 1,002.7 millibars, and we have had a 77-kilometer gust from this weather station on the western side of Belize City. Rainfall still continues to be right about 35 millimeters per hour coming down at this time.
And we've got a new radar image as well here that you may have noticed just then, and you can see a few new areas that have entered the eye. Belize City, looking at that imagery, must only be about 5 kilometers from entering the edge of the eye now, so it's getting very close to reaching that area. Still struggling to get a grasp on where the center of the eye actually is, because that latest image sort of shows that it hasn't really moved off Turnefetol at all. But the edge of the eye has clearly drawn closer to Belize City, and they will definitely be in the eye in the next 10 minutes, bearing in mind that this is slightly out of date already as soon as it comes out. As 15 minutes ago, so I would say that Belize City will be entering the eye within the next 10 minutes, possibly even sooner.
I think Ferguson Bank is definitely going to be our landfall site, just to the southwest of Belize City by about 6 miles.
Hard to figure out exactly where it will occur at the moment. We can't really rely on visible imagery because it's been clouded over by some big blobs of convection. The radar imagery, in fact, if you just look at that last frame again, just a moment, Tim, that last frame, just a little swirl up on the right-hand side, so that actually is definitely over water again, and I think that would suggest to me, let me just try and get a fix on that based on that info. It looks like right now that the center of the storm would be about 20 kilometers southeast of Belize City, and it will be piling straight into Ferguson Bank at this rate.
I was just giving you an update on that weather station, Nathan. We have now had a 90-kilometer wind gust from this weather station on the western side of Belize City. 90-kilometer wind gust.
Yep, so rising quite quickly. I don't know how far away from Belize City that is, but they should be getting some higher stuff round about now.
Looks like it's just maybe on the outskirts of it. So this would be right off the main highway. George Price Highway is the main highway heading southwest out of Belize City, and this weather station is just right next to it, right on the edge of the Burden Canal Wildlife Sanctuary. So it's not too far from the coastline, maybe a mile or two at most.
play about with some more imagery. Well, there's true color. That's way too bright. Let's.
I think landfall is actually going to be in 15 minutes or less by this point.
I don't know. I mean, it obviously will only be able to confirm it a little bit after the fact, but I don't know. It's definitely coming this hour and probably this half hour. Landfall is upon us. 80-mile-an-hour winds, pressure of 987 millibars, coming up fast, moving at about 15 miles per hour, which is can't remember how many that is in kilometers per hour. I think it's getting towards 25 kilometers per hour. So given that, landfall would be coming up fairly soon. Some more questions here. Any chance that Lisa will rapidly weaken before landfall? Well, not before landfall. It'll happen after landfall. But really blowing up
Way
those
too
convective
late.
tops there. What?
It's way too weakened to change intensity at all, or way too late to change
Yeah, of
intensity
course.
at all before landfall. Landfall is imminent.
And those winds are definitely starting to kick up. Another 90 km/h wind gust just came in.
Once again, this close-up radar imagery showing the extent of the rainfall there, which is really battering the coast at this point, the edge of the storm's eye. Something that we can't see on satellite imagery at the moment, so on the radar. Once again, the last frame on this was from, I think it was 53 minutes past, so it's now 20 minutes old. So if I was to make an inference there, I would say that just the tip of the coast of Belize City now will be entering the eye at this moment. So this is a developing event right now. This hurricane about to make landfall. A powerful storm with winds of 80 miles per hour sustained with higher gusts. A pressure estimate of 987 millibars. Recon couldn't confirm it or any other value because they couldn't get a pressure pass earlier on. They've now left the storm, so we're not going to have any more aircraft observations. It's up to radar and possibly any ground obs that we've got. Have they got any pressure updates there on that weather station, Tim?
Yeah, pressure is down to 1,002 millibars, Nathan.
1,002, and given that they're estimating 987 and it's pretty close, it's quite a steep pressure gradient. Just showing you the small size of this storm.
And it is still falling. Just dropped a little bit more, 1,001.7 now. So
Yeah.
if the eye of Lisa is just catching the tip near the Fort George area, this weather station is probably less than 15 miles away from the strongest pressure and the strongest winds.
We continue to watch this storm closely. When it gets to this part of a storm's life, there's very little forecasting that you can really do. It gets a little bit quiet at times when we're just in real time watching a storm event unfold. This storm about to make landfall, it's not going to strengthen anymore, which is good news. But really, we're just as much along for the ride as anyone else is when we get to this point. There's very little that can be said apart from latest position updates and any information that people have on the ground. If you are anywhere near this storm and you are in a safe place, then feel free to message us and let us know what your observations are, only if it's safe to do so. Another comment there, will there be a regular tropical weather bulletin tonight? I'm pretty sure there will. And what part of Belize will get the strongest winds? I think it's going to be the northern side of the eye, and that will be hitting Belize City up to Ladyville, up towards a few other locations further north.
And those ones are definitely blowing hard, Nathan. We just got our a recent wind gust 97 kilometers per hour from this weather station.
What's that in miles per hour?
That's around 60 miles per hour there. That was a gust.
Correct. There are been a few instances where we have seen some tropical storm force and that it's been dropping back down below tropical storm force, but we do have that 97 kilometer hour gust, and the pressure does continue to fall at this weather station on the western side of Belize City. Pressure is down to 1,001 millibars. We are starting to approach. I'm trying to get the calculations here. We're up to 95 millimeters of rain now for this area. And rainfall rates are still right around 35 to 38 millimeters per hour for the rainfall.
That's quite a lot. And how about half an hour ago it probably was when you were saying it was 73?
Yeah, just right around 73. So rain is definitely coming down at a very rapid rate.
Tanya says in Belmopan it is raining a lot and they're getting some gusty winds up to 15 miles per hour. And EIS says what's 95 millimeters in inches? That is nearly 4 inches there.
3.76 inches was the last number I just got. It just updated. We're at 3.78, 96 millimeters.
And I'm not sure what the units of choice is in Belize, but in this area we tend to do millimeters.
All right, breaking news, Nathan. We just got a 113 kilometer per hour wind gust on this station. 70 miles an hour, nearly hurricane force.
Yeah, nearly hurricane force there.
Yep.
So that's really ramping up quickly. We're hearing these reports coming in from 70 to 90 to 113 in the course of 10-15 minutes there. Brandon's just said, here we are at San Pedro, Belize. The winds are getting really strong and the rain is just falling more and more. We could see how trees break off and the coconut trees dancing. I bet they are.
Oh, easily. When you're getting 60, 80, up to 100 kilometer per hour winds, yeah, those palm trees are going to be whipping in the wind. Some of them may be even getting bent depending on how stable they are.
Once again, these radar returns from the last couple of hours. The latest image here is from 1:53 p.m. Belize time. So it's a good while ago now. It's nearly half an hour ago. Since then, the storm will have obviously moved in a little bit more. We don't have any visual cues anymore, really, because a convective blow-up has obscured the eye. But we believe right now that Belize City will be within the eye, at least part of the city is. And the center of the eye must only be around 15 kilometers away at this point, I would say. And it's probably going to pass just to the south. And we think at the moment that this storm will make landfall the center of the eye will make landfall in Ferguson Bank. We think. I doubt we'll see any jogs, but stranger things have happened. Ethan, I saw you took a little break there. You're back now. Anything you'd like to tell us about this storm presently?
No, but the eye appears, or what was the eye appears to have clouded over. So I don't know if we're not seeing a maintained phase or if this is just reorganizing in the last minute prior to landfall. I'm not sure, but either way, I'd probably go with 80 miles per hour still. Interesting to see that radar has the eye a little bit farther north than what recon is saying. That's very interesting, I think.
We have a new radar frame from 8 minutes past, and this radar frame shows the center of the eye. Let's look for this again. Very close to the drowned keys. And there's that, they go by too quickly. Take a look for that last frame again there. And there it is. So that's about 17 kilometers from Belize City, the center of the eye. And that last image there shows that part of Belize City is probably just entering the eye. As of 8 minutes past, of course now it's 20 past, so they'll definitely be in the eye now.
Yeah, Nathan, this weather station that we're getting our observations from, it is roughly 3.5 miles west of the tip of Belize City there. So this is pretty close to ground zero in terms of observations that we're going to get.
It's also Lisa's eye is also 3.5 miles the center of the eye, 3.5 miles from the closest piece of land, which is still the southern tip of the very small peninsula that is Belize City.
Over there?
I believe that is that is the port of Belize.
Okay, yeah, you're probably referring to Port Loyola, which is, that's on the southern side of Belize City. And the weather station that we're getting the information from is 3.5 kilometers from that location. So the information that we're getting from this weather station is, I would say, it's pretty accurate for some of the conditions that we're seeing in Belize City at this time.
If you do have any comments or questions for us right now, please continue to send them in. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. We're still covering this Hurricane Landfall, which is imminent now. Hurricane Lisa, part of the eye, is now over Belize City, and we expect that the center of the eye, therefore, will probably cross over there in about, 15 minutes.
Pressure does continue to fall, Nathan. We are down to 1,000 millibars at this weather station. Total rainfall has crossed 100 millimeters and roughly getting 40 millimeters of rain per hour now at this weather station, 3.5 kilometers from the tip of Belize City.
Well, I have been informed that Belize uses inches, actually, so we better do it in inches too.
All right, well then, that's perfect then. Total rainfall is 3.97 inches as of the last update, getting 1.61 inches per hour. Pressure, 1,000 millibars, 29.53 inches of mercury, and winds right now have died down. They're still gusting to tropical storm force. The last gust that came in was right around 48 miles per hour, which is right about 85 kilometers. So
if it's dying down, they may be entering the eye as well then.
I think they're right on the edge of it from where this weather station is in relation to that last radar loop that you just showed.
Maximum wind gusts near hurricane force there, considering that I assume this is inland, so I would still think it's a decent surmisation that hurricane force winds will have occurred near the coast. Okay, well, we are very close to this landfall. I don't know at which point we'll be able to confirm it, but we know that it is coming very shortly, and the exact location of it is still to be determined. We think it's going to be just south of Belize City, but any nasty little jog northwards could take it directly over Belize City. Not that it really matters very much where exactly the center of the eye makes landfall, just for the record books, I suppose, but for what it means to people on the ground right now, we're just looking at a few miles difference, so there's really not much to change about that. Check that satellite imagery again. You look at the south side, just those last few images there, there's a little arc of convection that's blown up again. Just in those last images, that little smiley face thing there going on at the end, a little burst of convection, and that is almost definitely round at the eye, which would place it there basically. At this moment in time, that might be the case, or maybe it's slightly displaced and the eye might actually be here. That's what radar would suggest right now, but no doubt it's very close to the coastline. Very, very close.
I'd say it's probably halfway between those Bay Islands and the coastline now, Nathan. Be a little bit more towards the coast. Either way, it's incredibly close.
Don't know. It's very hard to tell. Let's switch it up to this other imagery type. Once again showing the clouds bubbling up near the center there, just in the last couple of frames. A powerful storm, Hurricane Lisa, 80-mile-per-hour winds sustained with higher gusts. So far we've seen reports of 113 kilometers per hour, 70 miles per hour gust on the western side of Belize City from the weather station that Tim's been monitoring. We've not heard anything about surge, but we hear what people are saying in the comments section as well. Quite a few people reporting their latest situation, and it's all part of the community aspect that we like to have on these streams, where we can all stay connected. And Mill says wind is getting heavy here in Dengriga. And when is the next radar imagery? I'm trying to figure out how often, at what timestamp this imagery updates, but there's no new frame yet. The latest frame is from 8 minutes past 2, and this is what it looks like. There's that last frame there. We'll cycle this through a few times because it does play through quite quickly. How that storm has evolved in that time period. And again, it's quite hard to determine just exactly where the center of the eye is. But it's clear to see that in Belize City, part of it has entered the eye in that last frame. I would say now it's a bit of a guesstimate, but we're probably only looking at 10 kilometers from Belize City now for the center of the eye. It could be closer.
Yeah, and pressure continues to fall in this area. Nathan, this weather station just got down to 999.7 millibars.
Mm-hmm.
Dropping quickly.
I want to say it's probably dropped 6 millibars since I've come on air, and that was in a span of about 30 minutes.
Yeah, quite impressive. Just have a look here. We might have a new image. No, we don't. It's teasing me. Well, where do we go from here then?
Guess we're just gonna...
Rainfall reports still coming in, Nathan. This weather station has now crossed 4 inches. We're over 100 millimeters an hour. Or over 100 millimeters. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Total.
4 inches now. Yeah, 4 inches now. Over 100 millimeters. Rainfall still continues to be around 1.5 inches an hour, 40 millimeters. And the latest gust that just came in was 62 miles per hour, right around 100 kilometers an hour. So this weather station definitely feeling the brunt of Hurricane Lisa at this time. This
storm that formed in the Caribbean It was a PTC for quite a while. Eventually became a tropical storm, was forecasted to reach hurricane status possibly a little bit sooner than it did initially. But overall, from the National Hurricane Center, this has been pretty well forecasted.
Center of the eye is just about 2 miles from the coast now.
They were predicting an 80-mile-an-hour peak in their first updates and an 80-mile-an-hour landfall in Belize. They were first initially forecasting it a little bit further south than where it's ended up, but here we are, and it has been forecasted pretty well. We should get a new radar frame any minute. I'm looking out for that. There's no point really showing you until we get it, but no such luck at the moment. So 80 mile per hour winds right now. That's 120 kilometers per hour sustained winds with higher gusts. A pressure of 987 millibars. What else do we know about that weather station? Is it at any elevation?
There's not much information I can find on it, Nathan. Just that it is right on the western side of Belize City.
Where are you?
I'm at home, so I think my wife just got home, so that's what some of the background noise is. I do apologize for that.
I see. All right then. We're just waiting to see when we can possibly confirm a landfall, but no such moment just yet. But this storm, as we know, is on the verge of making that landfall, and I'm pretty sure that everyone can see that. Our live coverage will continue through the end of this hour, at which point the storm will have definitely made landfall and we will finish up. But in the meantime, this is and will remain a strong storm for a little bit longer after it makes landfall, of course. I doubt it will weaken particularly quickly, at least at first. Although the GFS model has it completely gone in 48 hours.
Nathan?
Yep.
Did you notice that Lisa's actually slowing down as it gets closer to landfall? Or is that just me?
I don't know, but
It was moving at about 15 miles per hour about, I'd say 1.5 hours ago. Now it's down to barely 10.
I don't know about that. It doesn't seem to be slowing down very much to me. It of course depends over what time period you've averaged that out. We're still waiting for some more radar imagery. I'm not sure the next frame will tell us much anyway, but we know that this storm is incredibly close to landfall, and we're just pretty much waiting to call it here. Let's bring it back to that radar imagery again, just to show you what it has been looking like as the storm's been drawing in. Quite clearly you can see it's probably just slightly north of west movement there. National Hurricane Center at their advisory went with 275 degrees heading. Certainly what it was earlier today. I imagine it stayed the same. It's just a tiny bit north of west. That would take this storm pretty much into landfall, probably just north of Ferguson Bank, which is only a few kilometers from Belize City. But it's obvious that they will have received the worst of the storm. Even if they don't get the exact center of the eye, they've received part of the northern side, which will have been the worst part, and the western part as well. And a new radar image there at long last, and showing that the storm is still a little way offshore yet. Where can we try and fix the center of that on that image? I would still say that it's probably only just over Bannister Key. and that is one of those fairly small ones. There's a group of 2 small islands there that enter the eye, and it's the northern one. Which is where I believe the center of the storm is over right now. And that would put it still 13 kilometers away from Belize City, so that's as
Nathan?
of 23 minutes past, 12 minutes ago, so a little while to go yet.
Nathan, we're about to see a double landfall. One for Lisa and one for Nalgi, which is about to make landfall in the Hong Kong region.
And how strong is that storm now?
I believe it is a weak tropical storm.
Yep, so more than one storm that's being tracked tonight. Lisa, Martin, of course, also in the Atlantic, and Nalgi, which is making landfall along the coast of either Hong Kong or mainland China. I'm not sure exactly where yet.
I believe it's just Hong Kong.
And let's take a look at a wide shot of the Atlantic again, showing you the current picture between Lisa and Martin right now. And Martin, a very decent looking hurricane there, sweeping off towards the northeast, getting a lot of power behind it. National Hurricane Center, I believe, expecting a Category 2 out of it, are they?
Yep.
And Lisa, quite clear to see there. This in the southwest along the coast of Belize. Its coverage, its influence extending very far on the northern side. In fact, some of its outermost bands reaching southern Florida. Southern side, not really the same story. There's very little going on in Honduras and in southern Guatemala to be of any concern just yet. Although I'm pretty sure this storm will, as it loosens up, it will expand a lot with that rainfall as it pushes through inland. Yeah, it appears to be a night for dogs around here.
It's not Mitchell.
No. But this
Sounds
is
more like
Force
a
13
chihuahua.
Live. Start your message with Force 13 all in text, and we'll be able to take your comments and questions on the air. And if you've got any observations from your place right now, if it's safe to do so, please get in touch and let us know what's going on where you are. A comment there. Martin actually looks really developed. There was like a massive warm pocket in Martin's vicinity. Any reason as to why?
No clue.
By the way, Ethan, I'm already doing a graphic on.
I'm already on both. Just let you know.
Why are you doing both?
Because I've had them prepared for a while.
So have I. Or at least Lisa. I'll do Lisa, you do Nagi. How about that?
There was another comment there. Has a double landfall happened before? It has. I mean, they're not insanely common, but they do happen.
For November, it's pretty rare, actually.
Suppose. Close-up imagery again. Looking at the visible here, we're starting to lose light a little bit as the storm continues westward. Ethan, what do you think about those thoughts from earlier about whether this storm is slowing down?
No, it's not slowing down at all, I don't think. Not yet.
I think it might be a little. Not to the extent.
It might like 1 to 2 miles per hour, but nothing significant.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No, something. My software just crashed when I tried to finish it.
Well, that's something that happens commonly. Here we go on the radar imagery once again. Take a look at this. The storm drawing closer and closer to landfall.
I think it's safe to call landfall.
I don't think so.
Not yet.
You sure?
It
Yes.
still seems to be quite away from landfall yet. its full landfall, that would be, of course. Tim, you've been quiet on the observations front. What's going on?
I'm still keeping an eye on it. It's just with family members taking care of some stuff back behind the studio. I didn't want that come out all over the air.
Yeah.
We do have a pressure update, though, on this weather station. It is now down to 998 millibars. We have seen a few gusts of 60 to 65 miles per hour recently. Rainfall is now past 4.25 inches, still about 1.4 inches an hour coming down on this weather station on the western side of Belize City.
Ben says that they're in Belmopan and have very slight winds and light rain at the moment. Has Lisa made landfall yet? Almost, and it will get a little bit worse for your area. You'll probably get strong tropical storm force winds, maybe, or certainly wind gusts.
The whole thing again.
And what is the current speed Lisa is moving at? I heard it possibly slowed from 15 miles per hour. Let me check the
13.
Let me check the latest. Yeah, actually, listen to this, Ethan. The latest real-time ATCF is suggesting that Lisa has slowed down to 11 miles per hour.
No, I don't think it's that slow.
I knew it.
You think?
No, I don't think it's that slow.
I
don't know.
I think it is.
I mean, that is experimental. It can sometimes be inaccurate. If we were to get its actual position based on that data, that would put the storm at approximately 10 kilometers southeast of Belize City, which is only around about 7 or 8 kilometers further on than I thought it was. Considering that the radar is a little bit behind, then I suppose that's about right. So my estimate right now probably agrees with that this storm is about 10 kilometers southeast of Belize City and 14 kilometers or 13 kilometers from its definitive landfall site at Ferguson Bank. 13 kilometers to go. At its current speed, even if it was only 16 or 17 kilometers per hour, it would still happen within an hour. Although it may be trickling into the next hour now, but we will be finishing up here at the top of the hour at the National Hurricane Center update. Let's not forget as well, they'll be putting out their advisory. And as soon as we get that information for you, we'll let you know. I doubt they will wait too long to issue that because they're not relying on any recon information, but I'm sure they've got their connections on the ground to find out what they're getting on the ground as well. But the last update, they were going with 80 miles per hour sustained and a pressure of 987 millibars. So we await their next advisory. Let's see if we've got any more comments here. In San Pedro, there's a lot of rain and there's water surging over the docks. Our power is in and out now. And Curtis says, do we know when the winds will slow down? Almost immediately after landfall, slowly and then more quickly. It's like on a car when you first gently apply the brake and then gradually push down the pedal as you slow down. That's how you're supposed to brake anyway. That's kind of what the storm will end up doing when it makes landfall. And Tony says, worried about storm surge in BC because it already floods when it rains hard. And Elizabeth says that they're in Sartaneja, Belize, more north, just a little rain, but Belize City is under Lisa for real.
New advisory.
That's right, and they are going with 85 miles per hour and a pressure of 990 millibars. They have gone with slightly stronger with a higher pressure.
What?
That doesn't make much sense, Ethan. What's going on?
No clue. But they say Lisa about to make landfall near Belize City. So this is not a landfall advisory.
It's just the intermediate advisory.
No, this is a full one.
It is a full one.
Oh,
The government of Honduras has discontinued the tropical storm warning for the Bay Islands and the north coast of Honduras. They've upped it to 85 miles per hour, but they've upped the pressure to 990 millibars. I don't know what's going on with that.
We've got the
And yes,
discussion here. It says
at 12 miles per hour.
the Air Force hurricane hunters have been investigating Lisa this past few hours, and a combination of the flight level winds and improvement in structure in radar support increasing the initial intensity to 75 knots. No, it doesn't. Hurricane force winds only about 15 nautical miles from the center, and those conditions will likely move across Belize City in the next couple of hours. I don't see what they're saying for 85 miles per hour. I mean, they didn't. I mean, sure, flight level winds were only up to 90 miles per hour, but I don't think they got any higher than that. And SFMRs didn't even top 80 miles per hour, so.
And they're also talking about an improvement in radar structure. Well, I think we should let the viewers decide on that. What do we think? Is this a stronger appearance than what it was looking like earlier or not? I can see the green areas that
intensifies up to 85 miles per hour, 974 millibars on Martin.
Man.
And they still forecast a 105 miles per hour peak at 2 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow, and they forecast it to turn post-tropical very quickly after that.
The green areas around the eye have wrapped more around the eye, so I think it's reasonable that they have upgraded it slightly to 85 miles per hour. I don't think there's enough evidence, but it is only 5 miles per hour. But the difference there being now that the wind speeds are up to 85, so just a little bit more there. That's around 130 kilometers per hour. And a pressure of 990, which is a little bit higher than it was before. So an odd turn of events with a little burst at the end here for Lisa as it starts to move over land. Landfall expected probably in about, the way it's going, maybe another 30 minutes. But we will be finishing up our coverage here at the top of the hour. There won't really be much else to talk about. It is a foregone conclusion what's going on with this storm. Not that we don't care or anything like that, but it sort of feels as if our usefulness comes to an end rather quickly when these storms move in.
Nathan, I think it's safe to call landfall.
Not yet.
No, it isn't. It's.
What do you mean? The center of the eye is over land.
Which bit of land?
Ferguson Bank.
It's nowhere near.
No, Ferguson Bank is south of Belize City. As to the logic with the NHC going with 85 miles per hour, my conclusion, Nathan, is they looked at the flight level data off of AF304 when it was in there, and there was 8 data points that would have suggested that Lisa was at least 85 miles per hour. I didn't see anything to support higher than that, so 85 does seem reasonable based on the flight level data that was available.
Latest distance from land is that the storm is 10 kilometers from Ferguson Bank.
What the? Trying to send
And the weather station, which is 9 kilometers north of Ferguson Bank, Nathan, down to 997 millibars.
Fascinating. We've got a few more questions that have come in the last few moments as well. Ike says, what countries in Europe will be affected by what will be post-tropical storm Martin?
Definitely Iceland. Gales are possible for Ireland. And high tides are possible anywhere from Greenland, even Atlantic Canada. And possibly even the United Kingdom. But it's not going to be a major windstorm or anything to hit Europe. It's most likely just gonna sizzle out near Iceland.
Tanya says, is the northern eye wall of Lisa stronger than the southern? We believe so. Yep. And was Lisa a PTC before it developed? It did. It was.
No. Oh, yeah, it was. I forgot
Also,
about that.
speaking of the United Kingdom, hello, Christian.
Hello.
You came
It's
just in
also
time.
it's also still worth noting that the hurricane force wind fields are entirely on the northern side of the circulation in this advisory. None are on the southern side, as well as 60-mile-per-hour sustained winds. None on the southern side. So
Gosh.
this is all north side heavy.
That is going to be a big concern because that does put the strongest winds right over Belize City, and we are starting to get some pictures in, Nathan, from a few of our viewer submissions, and we do have a local radio station out of Belize reporting that several homes in the Belize City area have lost their roofs as Hurricane Lisa has impacted the area. So things are starting to go downhill very quickly in the Belize City area at this time.
There's one such image from this afternoon, clearly, showing a roof half torn away. So that's going to be a pattern in quite a few areas over the course of the next few hours, with these strong winds gusting to hurricane force and at times sustained here, which will be sweeping through Belize City right now and in the next
Speaking
couple
of
of
that,
hours.
Nathan, we just got a 71 mile per hour wind gust and pressure down to 996.3 millibars. Sustained winds are starting to approach 60 miles per hour on this weather station that we've been observing.
So they're still not in the eye then. Interesting.
This is weird. Usually I would think we already would have called landfall if it's likely we should have already called landfall.
If we were going to look at satellite alone, I would say it's right on the coast, just a couple of miles. But radar is quite clear in showing that we're not at landfall at this point. That last image there from 38 minutes past, just trying to square it here and figure out exactly where that center would. Still quite a way to go. Probably about 9 kilometers southeast of Belize City right now. It's an interesting one. Christian, your thoughts on this storm right now?
Well, I mean, I've not really been paying too much attention to it as of now, but my main focus is on Martin because of what it's getting up to. But bringing things onto Lisa, yeah, I mean, it's obviously been tracking westward as the NHC predicted. What is it now? 8987. And it's just about to make landfall of about at maximum half an hour away. If I had to guess, I'm not 100% sure.
Christian?
We
Hello?
have some breaking news here. Our cyclone analyst team has declared landfall for not Lisa, but Naogi. Landfall has occurred in the Macau Peninsula with winds of 40 miles per hour. That's a weak tropical storm and a pressure of 1,002 millibars. This is an incredibly weak tropical cyclone. It has just made landfall west of Hong Kong.
And you've got the image for that?
I don't have an image, but I have a sitrep graphic that I'm posting right now if you want that.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I saw you flick through them.
Yeah, there it is.
There's nothing there.
No. It's borderline not a tropical cyclone, but it's only lost its convection just recently, so it still is a tropical cyclone. And if it doesn't regenerate any, it's quite likely that we'll be downgrading to a remnant low for the upcoming 0Z fix. But we'll have to wait and see on that.
Yikes. Well, there we go. The storm drawing ever closer to landfall. Lisa, that is, in Belize. We are still waiting for that landfall to be confirmed by any source we can get our hands on, really. But right now, it is clear that the storm has not yet made landfall, but we are only talking about 9 kilometers, 5 or 6 miles from a landfall.
Landfall should have occurred over 20 minutes ago.
And yet it hasn't.
No, I think it's just not. I don't know what's going on. Apparently. I definitely think it's already made landfall.
Let's take a look at the new National Hurricane Center forecast. This was the old update and the updated cone, which is pretty much the same as it was before. They have the storm weakening very quickly after it moves inland. That first S dot there, that's only 45 miles per hour by the time it gets into Guatemala. And then down to a depression Thursday afternoon.
Time.
Stays as a depression into the Gulf of Mexico. And there was a question from Jamie. What are the chances of redevelopment in the Gulf?
I would say about a 20-80. 20% chance it does, 80% chance it doesn't.
You not think, Ethan, that it might just squeeze out an extra 5 miles an hour whilst it's moving northwards before making that turn?
It might get it to very briefly, but I don't see it happening personally at all. I'd probably give it an extremely low chance of that actually happening.
Well, there we go.
I'm waiting for our cyclone analysis team to confirm landfall.
We do have an update on this weather station, Nathan.
Okay.
Sure.
Pressure is down to 995.2 millibars, and we just had a wind gust of 73 miles per hour.
That is pretty much hurricane force.
That's gust, though, not sustain.
Yeah.
Now, we've had some sustained winds of about 62. That 73 is the highest gust that I have seen off of this weather station, though, since I've been keeping an eye on it.
Yes. Well, at this point, we are going to finish up with our discussion on this storm now. It is on the cusp of making landfall. Our team, well, we'll end up posting a sit rep on Twitter once it does make landfall, which must only be a few minutes away. But we are calling it quits here because we got to sort out our own affairs. There'll be a tropical weather bulletin later on tonight in 3 hours' time with the latest on this storm and everything else around the world of tropics. You can find Force 13 on all of our social platforms, Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates. Lisa making an 85 mile an hour landfall in Belize right now with a pressure of 990 millibars. Winds so far of pretty much hurricane force gusts being reported west of Belize City. So this will pass through in the next couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours probably, and then conditions will improve in the area. It will be a short one. It's a small storm, as we've already commented on, and it will weaken quickly, which is the good news, but there is going to be a few hours here of difficult conditions in this whole area as this storm romps through. Highest rainfall estimates possibly between 6 and 10 inches across Belize, and that could cause flash flooding if you enter some high rainfall zones. We'll be back with our tropical weather bulletin. That will occur in 3 hours' time, but from us here for the time being, it's that's all from us, and we'll see you again soon.